January 24th, 2023, the 3 Clancy children were murdered in this small Massachusetts community. The mother, Lindsay Clancy, admitted to the murders, strangling them with exercise bands before she attempted to kill herself but failed.
Lawyers from the Massachusetts mom accused of strangling her 3 kids, says she was over-medicated at the time of the deadly attack.
What is undeniable here is just how horrific the case is.
This is a deeply tragic case on all levels.
There are so many differing opinions. There's so much evidence cutting both ways.
We are watching a mother in absolute pain in a courtroom every day. And I think there's more women out there who can empathize with that than people realize.
More than 3 years have passed since that nightmarish night, and now all eyes of the nation are turned towards this courtroom behind me for the trial of Lindsay Clancy.
She was over-medicated.
Is it evidence of premeditation, or is it really evidence of her deteriorating mental state?
This appears to be a clear-cut case of the medical profession failing us.
She did ask for help over and over again.
Depending on who you ask, this was either a carefully planned murder or the result of a psychotic break. But one thing is for certain. At the heart of this case, there are 3 dead children and a woman that could be any one of us.
On Christmas Eve 2017, Lindsay and Patrick had their first child, Cora.
They seem to be this happy young couple. She's a nurse, he's a working person.
What's remarkable about it is that there was no warning signs before any of this.
It seemed as if they had this nice life, right? They celebrated holidays together, they went to church together.
On the last day of September 2019, Lindsay gave birth to Dawson.
Early on, Lindsay Clancy is reporting things like insomnia and anxiety and depression.
From what we're hearing, Lindsay was a very, very anxious person, and that childbirth made that worse, which is often the case.
On May 26, 2022, Lindsay gave birth to her 3rd child, Callan, and things began to unravel.
Upon the birth of this last child, she starts to experience what some have described as postpartum depression.
In terms of Lindsay's symptoms, they seemed to worsen as time went on.
Just 4 months after Callan was born, Lindsay went looking for help. She found Dr. Jennifer Tufts at Astor Mental Health.
Is that when you began in August of 22 your practice as a practicing psychiatrist?
Yes.
And it was when that you saw Lindsay Clancy?
I believe our first visit was September 15th
of
2022.
So you were practicing as a psychiatrist for a little more than a month?
I was practicing independently with my full credentials for about a month, but the training is just immense that goes on before that.
We know that Dr. Tufts was relatively new, fairly inexperienced with actual postpartum psychosis.
And when you prescribed her with the Zoloft, 25 milligrams, did you increase it at some point?
The instructions were to increase it to 50 after 1 week.
After 1 week?
Yes.
I think Dr. Tufts was earnest in her attempts, but she definitely missed some big warning signs.
She had taken Zoloft and couldn't sleep for 2 days. That's called activating. That actually can occur if you have a bipolar disorder that's not diagnosed. So it might be that bipolar disorder was entertained here and not exactly pinned down.
So we discussed whether it would make sense to switch to a different medication at that point. And at that moment, because of her negative experience with the Zoloft, she did not want to start a new medication at that point.
That first appointment where she was seeming depressed and having issues with Zoloft on October 20th, did you tell her to stop taking the medication at that point?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
On November 16th, 2022, Lindsay checked herself into the ER. She was barely sleeping. She was desperate for help. What happened next was a string of doctors, each adding to a list of ever-growing medications. Lindsay Clancy was on a real cocktail of SSRIs and antipsychotics. These are heavy-duty medications.
Generally, if you have one major anti-anxiety agent like the Seroquel, perhaps that would be enough. Ativan could be added to take the edge off, but I don't know what she was doing on some of these other medications that she was on.
She was going from doctor to nurse to hospital to inpatient treatment center, all in search of somebody who was going to be able to help her. No one doctor had a clear image of everything that was going on with her. And to be fair to these doctors, they were all trying stuff because what had been previously prescribed wasn't working.
So it really was a perfect storm of miscommunication, misdiagnosis, overprescription, underprescription of proper drugs for Lindsay Clancy.
You know, let's remember, she was a nurse, and if a nurse can't figure out medication and how she's feeling and combination of medications, if she can't manage these things, it probably should have been a huge red flag to anybody that was caring for her that she was struggling.
And I think that's going to be very much part of the defense strategy here, is that this was a woman who really was reaching out and the system didn't come through for her. Now, whether that's fair or not is going to be up for the jury to decide.
New Year's Day, 2023, about 3 weeks before the murders, Lindsay Clancy checked herself into McLean Psychiatric Hospital.
Were you aware, or did Lindsay tell you that she then asked the doctors to discharge her on January 5th because she wanted to go home and get ready for the party?
I wasn't aware of Lindsay asking the doctors to be discharged.
Okay.
You know, she was in a hospital for 5 days in McLean, ostensibly the top psychiatric hospital in the country. Why wasn't she there longer? Why didn't she have a defined diagnosis?
She was allowed to leave after about 5 days. Important to note that it was Lindsay that requested to leave McLean Hospital.
On January 23rd, a day before the murders, Lindsay Clancy had what would be her final appointment with Dr. Tufts. At 4:02 p.m., Lindsay Clancy searches on her phone for Miralax for kids.
4:13 p.m., Lindsay searches for Takeout 3V and then uses Apple Maps to see how long it would take to travel there.
4:47 p.m., Lindsay goes to the CVS website, then calls the store in Kingston and asks if they have the Miralax medicine. 4:53 p.m., Lindsay texts Patrick, who's working in the basement, to see if he wants takeout.
He leaves at 5:15, according to the testimony. 5:23, an unusual thing happens. Her Apple Watch stops reporting. There's also stare activity. Now, why does that matter? Because the children were found in the basement. So at some point in that window, she's on the stairs. 5:32 p.m., Patrick is seen in surveillance footage entering the Kingston CVS pharmacy.
And what section did you go to in CVS?
I think it was pediatrics.
5:33, Patrick calls. He doesn't get an answer. She calls him right back a minute later. And according to Patrick, she's entirely coherent.
5:37 p.m., Patrick leaves the store to pick up the takeout order.
5:54, Patrick is at the restaurant. 6:09 p.m., Patrick returns home.
Patrick came home to a nightmare that I don't think anyone would want to live.
When you unlocked the door to your bedroom, did you go in?
Yeah.
And what did you see when you opened the door and went in?
I just saw blood everywhere. And the window is open. I just looked around in the backyard below that window and I saw Lindsay.
And where did you see her?
She was face up in the backyard.
Lindsay is outside of the home. She's severely injured. She's nearly unconscious.
She had deep cuts on her wrists, and she had a red line across her neck. I wasn't sure what it was at first.
And he finds her barely conscious and obviously calls 911.
Did you say anything to Lindsay when you found her in that state?
Yeah, I said, "What happened?"
And what was her response?
She said, "I tried to kill myself."
Did you ask her anything else?
I said, "Where are the kids?"
And what was her response?
She said, "They're in the basement."
Now that's interesting, because she doesn't say, "I killed them."
You can ask any parent this. The thing that he first notices that starts to make his heart sink is silence. He doesn't hear the children. And eventually, in the basement of the home, he makes a horrific discovery.
What did you see?
I saw Cora.
And how did she look?
She had a band around her neck.
Patrick discovers his 3 children have exercise bands tied around their necks. They're unconscious. They're not breathing.
In the basement, if the order of the deaths, as the prosecution seems to be theorizing, is accurate, the baby is done last. It argues that she separated the 2 children who were capable of either interfering or running. The argument here would be that her mind was organized enough to send Patrick out to kill the kids in an order in which she could succeed.
Cora and Dawson were pronounced dead at Beth Israel Hospital. Baby Callan died 3 days later.
Clancy was arraigned on February 7th in her hospital bed.
A plea of not guilty will be entered. Please be advised while this case is pending, any violation of state, federal, or local law may result in your bail being revoked and be held without bail.
Lindsay pled not guilty by reason of insanity.
Is it murder or is it mental illness?
He sees his 5-year-old dead first. He then sees his 8-month-old. He then sees his 3-year-old with exercise ropes around their neck.
This isn't someone who, like, I have no other defense, I'm going to claim insanity.
The people that wouldn't help her are the people that were controlling her medication.
It's a case that really has taken on a life of its own because you're dealing with a woman who seems to have no other reason to have committed this horrific crime. And because of that, many people have identified with her and the struggles that she was going through. And on the other side, you have this incredible tragedy.
No one except the internet and people on TikTok are suggesting that Lindsay did not do this.
So I think there's two ways this case is being tried, right? One way is the court of public opinion online, and the other way is in the courtroom. And there has been zero evidence in the courtroom that is suggesting in any way, shape, or form that Patrick Clancy was involved in the murder of these children. I feel sorry for him in that sense. That being said, I also don't think he has created a very sympathetic figure beyond the fact that obviously he lost his children, but it seems that he had moved on very fast. He got married to somebody who looks very much like Lindsay Clancy. And I think what happens is people look at that and of course they judge that situation. So at the end of the day, I don't think there's any evidence whatsoever that Patrick Clancy was involved in this, but I do understand the scrutiny given what he knew about Lindsay's condition.
This case needed a particular type of attorney. It needs someone who's able to be aggressive on her behalf, yet also have a sensitivity and soft touch towards the nature of the crime itself. Lindsay Clancy hired a local lawyer named Kevin Reddington.
We were most fortunate in getting one of the most compassionate, strong judges in the state of Massachusetts.
Kevin Reddington, who is an old school defense attorney, which is my favorite kind. He's in there by himself every day, but it's astounding. He's handling every witness. And while he's this hard-nosed, old school lawyer, he's showing an immense amount of compassion for his client.
Do you have an opinion as to how Lindsay was as a mother that you could see?
She was very, very good. She fed them great. She did a lot of things with them. They did like the all-American family.
I think it's remarkable what he's been able to do about shifting the narrative of this case.
She didn't look them up because she wanted to get drugs. She was referred by her mother-in-law.
The defense is arguing that Lindsay should not be held criminally responsible because she was suffering from postpartum psychosis.
Psychosis means a disruption from reality, where you're hearing voices or you're having hallucinations or delusions. That's psychosis. Postpartum psychosis would mean that it occurs postpartum, after birth. You have to understand that birth is a time of great hormonal disruption to begin with.
Do you recall the end of January that she made a statement to you about the medication, in her opinion, what it was doing to her mind?
Yes.
What did she say?
She said that she couldn't remember anything. The medication was pretty much just destroying her mind, and it wasn't her. She said that this isn't me. I just want to feel better and enjoy my kids again.
I don't feel that there was a sustained treatment over a period of time that had continuity stamped on it. Now that can be from the patient, that can be from the facility, that can be due to insurance coverage. So we don't know how this occurred, but the definite feel about this is piecemeal, and that's not what you need if you're severely ill. In a certain sense, this is an indictment of our mental health system.
Well, he's going to do everything he can, and has been, I would argue, to put the medical industry, he's going to put all of that on trial.
Did you receive a phone call from the defendant while she was at Brigham and Women's Hospital?
Yeah.
And what did she say about what she went through?
She said she heard a man's voice telling her that if she didn't do it now, she would lose her chance, or something like that.
Patrick Clancy, her ex-husband, who has since the beginning maintained support for her, has sued her medical providers, saying that they are responsible for her decline. Remember, we're dealing with a lower standard of proof, and I think that this case has exposed some glaring gaps in the mental health care system here in the United States.
This was not a woman in the throes of psychosis on January 24th, 2023. This was a woman who acted intentionally, rationally, and swiftly to accomplish a very specific goal: to kill.
The prosecutors are Shannon Buckingham and Jennifer Sprague. They have experience with prosecuting cases where parents have murdered their children.
The government is represented by two female lawyers. I know one has gotten a lot of attention for her attire in court and the bows that she wears. And there's been a lot of talk about, is she trying to make a statement, or, what does that have to do with? And so I think it's a mistake on their part, actually. It's almost as if she's dressing in a costume. And I think it's taking away from the seriousness and the severity of the case.
The prosecution started their case very aggressively, and I think that has cut at their credibility.
And I think the other huge mistake came when they had Patrick Clancy's mother on the stand, and she was called by the defense. And when the prosecutor questioned her and asked her about going to church, she had the audacity in front of the jury to ask the grandmother if murder is a mortal sin.
Are you an active member in the Catholic Church?
Yes.
Okay. So you're aware that murder is considered a mortal sin?
Counsel, can I see you over here?
And before Kevin Reddington could even object, the judge stopped her. The judge called her up to the bench, and the judge obviously admonished her. And then he came back and told the jury to disregard that comment.
I think where the prosecution made a mistake here is in not acknowledging some of the difficulties that Lindsay Clancy was going through. I think the prosecution tried to depict Lindsay Clancy as being a villain, as being a bad person. She was not. That's abundantly clear. She was a very caring and loving mother.
They want you to believe that this woman was a mastermind criminal and had this idea all along that she was going to kill these 3 children. I just don't think it's very believable, and I don't think it rises to proof beyond a reasonable doubt. In this case, you have to separate the emotion of our reaction to what she did from the legal standard. The legal standard is simply, when she did what she did, was she capable of understanding that it was wrong? And if the jury decides, yes, she had that capacity, she's going to be found guilty.
If I were prosecuting this case, I think I would have said that from the beginning. Listen, you're going to hear about a woman who was very sick. But what is important here is whether or not she knew what she was doing was wrong, and we intend to prove to you she knew that murder was wrong. At the heart of this case is understanding what was going through Lindsay Clancy's mind. So the prosecution has focused on circumstantial evidence of her state of mind. They say, look to her actions. They've pointed out the fact that she sent her husband on an errand and also to pick up dinner. The fact that she researched how long that would take him. The fact that she had a phone conversation with him during that time.
Do you recall, and can you tell the jurors what, if any, observations you made of Lindsay and her condition?
Lindsay had lost a lot of weight. She would mention that this wasn't her mind. She would say to me, this isn't me. I've never been like this before.
I think her mother's testimony is incredibly important. And just getting an understanding of what it was like inside of her head in the weeks and days leading up to the murders.
Well, her mother's testimony cuts 2 ways, and that's understandable. The mother describes that Lindsay had articulated a fear of hurting the kids. So it's typical of this case. The testimony on both sides can be configured to help either the defense or the prosecution.
So I think the problem that the state has here with their argument is, in Massachusetts, the government has to prove that Lindsay Clancy was criminally responsible and that she was not dealing with these mental issues.
Yeah, so legally, Massachusetts is a little unusual. That's not the case normally in most states. The burden would reside with the defense.
And I think in Massachusetts, that law is very favorable to the defendant.
And so in this case, they're going to have to prove, that is the prosecution, that at the time she did what she did, beyond a reasonable doubt, she knew it was wrong. That's a high bar in this case. And that's why many of us suspect that at the least we're going to get a hung jury here.
This case is so unique in that there's not a clear bad person here. No one, I think, will cheer the fact if Lindsay Clancy is convicted that she's going off to prison.
If there is a legacy of this case, I would say it resides with psychiatric treatment and how we treat postpartum psychosis.
I think for too long, everybody thinks, well, people have children all the time, they bounce back, they'll be okay. But there are really situations where women need help.
This certainly raises the appreciation and knowledge in the public's mind of what postpartum psychosis is, how it exists, and what people experience in it are capable of.
Postpartum mental health issues are a huge problem in this country, and they need to be addressed.
For the Clancy children, there can be no justice. And for the Clancy family, there will be no happy ending. And for this community, thrust into the national spotlight for the worst of reasons, there will be no shortage of heartbreak.
Still curious? Join the Curious Collective for just £1.99 a month. No tiers, no locked content, just full access. You'll get exclusive documentaries, ad-free members-only videos, early access, custom badges, emojis, and member discounts. Hit join below and become part of the investigation. Before you go, I want to give a special thank you to the members of the Curious Collective. Your support helps keep Dead Curious growing and allows me to bring more documentaries, more investigations, and more mysteries. Thank you for being part of the collective.